That is an excellent question. Now, depending on what type of firearm you actually have will make a difference on where you should sell it. Say, for example, you're trying to sell, just a run-of-the-mill AR-15 or like a Maverick 88. Do not try to sell these on Gunbroker. You will get peanuts for it. Their Gunbroker's just overloaded with them. Trying to get any decent price, not going to happen. Pretending this is like a Colt SP1 or something rare, something highly sought after. Gunbroker is actually the best place to sell it on. Now, Gunbroker does have fees. I think it's somewhere around like 6.5%, something like that. Plus then you got shipping and etc. But on something rare that you're going to bring in, a couple $1,000s, that's not really that big of a deal. First things first, how to sell it on Gunbroker. You're going to want to go at completed auctions just to get a rough idea of what your firearm will value out at first before you put it up for auction. Now, I actually did a whole video on this. I'll run a little card here. You can click on and watch that and how to appraise your firearm. Next, you want to run a 1 week long auction. And you want to start that auction at 1 penny. And you're going to want to get something called a shield bidder. Basically, what a shield bidder is going to do is you'll have like some sort of price in your head, like I absolutely will not sell the firearm if it goes cheaper than this price. So your shield bidder, when it gets down to like the last day, couple hours, because you'll get most of your bids within the last hour, he's going to be there and he's going to put in bids for exactly what you want for your final ending cost to make sure it does not go below that. So this way you don't get screwed over. Say it is going to go below that, well then your shield bidder will win the auction and then you just pay the percentage fee and you keep your firearm. You come up with a new plan. The next thing you want it to end at the end of the workday on either Saturday or Sunday because that's when the auctions do the best.
The final step is to preview your item listing. Once your item receives bids, you will be unable to make most changes, so review all the information carefully.
Now, say it's not something rare. Say it's a hunting firearm, like, a run-of-the-mill Winchester bolt-action firearm or like a pump-action shotgun, something designed for hunting. To get your best possible price, you'd go to a gun show. Now, not just any gun show, you need to go to a gun show near an Amish community. Because of the way gun laws are set up, even though they can legally own the firearms, because it's against their religion to have their picture taken, they cannot legally purchase a firearm in the United States of America. So the Amish go to gun shows and they swipe up all your hunting shotguns, hunting rifles. Lever actions are really popular with them. Also, the people that drive around the Amish, that's their form of the internet. Because that guy goes to so many different places in that, he would be like the eBay for Amish. If you talk to one of those guys also, he can set you up like, hey, I know this guy looking for, whatever you happen to have there. I'll give him a call and see if he's interested. And he'll set you up with those guys and you'll get your best possible price for your hunting firearms. Now understand, you cannot purchase a firearm with the intent to sell it without a dealer's license. When you go to gun shows, if it's a poorly run gun show and the person putting it on is not watching the crowd, you will see this. Clearly, you're buying and selling firearms for profit without a dealer's license. If you're just going to disregard the law for a little bit of extra coin in your pocket, please separate yourself from legitimate establishments, you parasite. At least get a black van and keep it in the parking lot or drive to the east or west coast where your services are required. And it's terrible. I mean, we went to a gun show because I'm like, man, like all of our firearms are drastically cheaper than all of these used firearms. Why don't we set up a booth? Yeah, it didn't go so well. So that is something, you got to pay attention to. You want to make sure to go to a gun show that has a good host that chases these people out of there. Otherwise, there's a chance that somebody might report it. And then there'll be a chance that there's a Fed in there, and then you have to explain that, no, I didn't buy this firearm with the intent to sell. I've actually owned it for, so long, and I just don't want it anymore. That's why I'm getting rid of it. So that's a great option. Your next option is private sales. you gotta understand though, if somebody's buying like say an AR-15 or a pistol or a shotgun like that, because I've actually bought them this way myself, they're paying for anonymity, where you keep your stuff private, because they want it off the books. So if everything ever goes belly up and they start collecting firearms, they have an actual chance at being able to hide and or keep their firearm. So, like, you're basically gonna deal with a guy, like, tapping you on the shoulder in the back at a gun show, being like, hey, don't turn around, but I got your phone number, I have cash, here's the money, it's coming up on your right side, grab it and slowly take the firearm off your shoulder, I'm gonna exit out the back door. Most people aren't comfortable with that because they're convinced if somebody doesn't want to give their information out, that they're going to knock off a 7-Eleven or something, which there is that possibility. But, I mean, it's pretty rare, and if they really want to knock off a 7-Eleven, it would just make more sense to rob a house. You know, go somewhere where they know their information is not being taken. Another good way to set up private sales is on Facebook posts. You just post a picture of your firearm, and you put in the description, PM me to discuss it. Someone will PM you. You can work out some sort of arrangement. You're probably going to be meeting this person at Walgreens at like 3 a.m. though.
I am calling in reference to your Craigslist ad. Post number 18326-542. I am interested in purchasing this item for $50 more than your asking price, but you need to meet me at Walgreens at 3 a.m. Park next to the phone booth and get out of your car so I know it's you.
So, I mean, it comes down to if you're comfortable with that or not. Like, I've went to private sale firearms. I'm not a felon. I mean, obviously. And they'd be like, oh, I want to see your CCW. I want a copy of your ID, you know, all your names and address. I'm like, dude, I'm giving you top dollar for this firearm. I'm doing it because I don't want you to be able to tell who you sold the firearm to. Because let's be real. Once those commies start waterboarding you, you're totally going to sell me out if you have the information to do so. If you want all that stuff, take it to a gun shop. They'll make you feel safe, but you're going to get like maybe 60% of what I'm offering you. So that's the thing, which brings me up to the next place where you can sell a firearm, and that would be at a gun shop. Honestly, this is the worst place you can sell a firearm. Because they have to make a profit off of it, and they can get them for cheap. Like typically when a person purchases a firearm, they're paying the start cost, they're paying some sort of markup, they're paying sales tax. So instantly, like just walking out the door with a firearm and coming back in to sell it, you're losing quite a bit of money. Now, if that firearm's got damage on it, or it's used, or it's an older model, you're going to even lose less because we're not able to sell it for top dollar anymore. It's used. So, you're looking at maybe 50, 75% at very best of what you paid for the firearm is what a gun shop can give you for it. But those are a couple of different options. But now when you do take it to a gun shop, we log it in under your name, and then when someone new buys it, we sell it. And basically what'll happen is, let's say the local bank gets robbed. The ATF is like, okay, you know, we recovered the firearm, we don't know who did it yet. So they go to the manufacturer, like, here's the serial number of the firearm. The manufacturer's like, okay, we sold this firearm to this distributor. So then they go to the distributor, and they're like, this is the serial of the firearm, where did it go from there? Then this distributor's like, okay, we sold it to Coloma Resale. Then they come here. They're like, this is the serial number of the firearm, who did you sell it to? And we look in our logbook, and we're like, oh, we sold this to Joe Blow whatever. Then they go to Joe Blow whatever, and he's like, oh, I sold the firearm back to this gun shop, or privately, or whatever he did with it after that. So if he sold it to a gun shop, then they go back to the gun shop, and they're like, okay, this is the serial of the firearm, it came in at this time, where'd it go from there? Then we look in our logbook, oh, we sold it to Joe Slayer, you know, whatever. And then they keep working down the line that way. So the whole point of like a private sale is to put a break in there. Like, it goes to Joe Slayer, and he's like, well, I sold it to a guy at 3 a.m. at Walgreens at, you know, the corner of 5th and Henry Street. And then, like, well, that's the end of where we can track it to. Or, like, I sold it to a guy at a gun shop, I never turned around, he tapped me on the shoulder, held his hand out in front of me with the cash. I took the firearm off my shoulder and he left. Now, if he sold it to a gun shop, then they'd keep tracking it down. That would, your responsibility would break once you brought it in at the gun shop, because then it would be registered to a new person. Because otherwise, if you did sell it privately at Walgreens or whatever, you know, they have to be under the assumption that you may be lying. If you're not lying, it's not a big deal. They'll just grill you for a while and then case closed. The firearm trail breaks. Nothing more we can go on there. Maybe, you know, like security cameras from like an ATM or from a Walgreens store or something like that might pick up the other guy, but that's the end of it. So those are the options that are most common that you can use. But thanks for watching. Leave in the comments below if you have any other options, how you prefer to sell firearms. Don't forget to subscribe.